North Carolina, the birthplace of country music, blues, and the Cherokee Indians, is a state rich in history and natural beauty. Nestled in the northern part of the South Atlantic states, it stands out as a fairly conservative and prosperous region. Unlike its southern counterpart, South Carolina, North Carolina is usually quiet in terms of crime. The state more often makes national news due to snowstorms, tornadoes, and severe thunderstorms, rather than violent incidents. The state's coastal areas are frequently battered by tropical storms and flooding, while its dense wildlife refuges pose the constant danger of wildfires and landslides. These natural threats generally overshadow the human-made dangers. However, on April 10, 2019, a tragic storm brewed not from nature, but from within a young man named Tristan Borlase. Tristan Borlase, a 17-year-old from a devout religious family, unleashed a violent massacre on his loved ones at their family home in Deep Gap, North Carolina. On that fateful Wednesday evening, emergency services received a distressing call from a young woman reporting a large amount of blood in her home and the disappearance of her parents and younger brother. She was unable to reach them and feared the worst. Police officers quickly responded to the call and rushed to the home in Deep Gap, located about a mile from the Watauga and Wilkes County border. As they arrived, they were confronted with a grisly scene. Blood on the walkway leading to the house, on the mat by the front door, and a blood trail inside the house stretching up the stairs. Outside, officers discovered the body of a man covered in leaves under a hammock, bearing several stab wounds. Later that evening, around 10:30 p.m., the family's pickup truck was found hidden in the woods. Inside the truck, under a blanket and bags of mulch, lay the body of a woman. This impulsive and senseless domestic tragedy had begun to unfold. Jeffrey Borlase, Tristan's father, was born on April 16, 1975. He was the pastor of the conservative Pietist Bible Fellowship Church, a Protestant religious movement with Mennonite roots. Raised in an environment that emphasized personal piety and the constant watchful eye of God, Jeffrey grew up kind, loving, and gentle. His summer job at Big Surf Water Park in Missouri led him to meet Tanya Mae Trandom, a girl of similar age and upbringing. They quickly fell in love, sharing a deep commitment to Christian values. Jeffrey and Tanya married and soon started a family, continuing the traditions in which they were raised. Their first child, Taylor, was followed by 3 more children, the youngest being a son named Tristan. The family later adopted 4 more boys, embracing a life of charity and love. Despite the seemingly idyllic family life, Tristan struggled with the strict religious upbringing and the lack of modern conveniences like a cell phone and social media access. Taylor's departure for college in 2015 left Tristan feeling isolated and increasingly rebellious. Quarrels with his parents became more frequent as he disagreed with their religious views and restrictions. By 2019, Tristan's behavior had deteriorated significantly. School consultations with a psychologist revealed anger issues and a lack of impulse control. Once a diligent student, Tristan became withdrawn and disinterested in his studies. His behavior at home also grew troubling, leading to increased conflict with his parents. On April 10, 2019, a series of events pushed Tristan over the edge. Surveillance cameras in the family's barn revealed disturbing messages on Tristan's old cell phone, which his mother discovered. These messages involved sexual conversations and discussions about illegal drugs. That same day, Tristan's English teacher called his mother with concerns about his grades and behavior, leading his parents to pick him up early from school. A tense conversation at home ensued, lasting about an hour and a half. According to Tristan, his mother approached him from behind, applied pressure to his neck, and in a moment of panic, he instinctively elbowed her. This altercation escalated tragically when Tristan stabbed his mother, believing he was defending himself. His father, who came running at the commotion, was also fatally stabbed by Tristan. Tristan's actions following the murders were calculated. He cleaned up the crime scene, hid his parents' bodies, and attempted to carry on as if nothing had happened. However, the arrival of family members and the discovery of blood at the scene led to a police investigation. Surveillance footage and forensic evidence quickly pointed to Tristan as the perpetrator. Tristan fled with his girlfriend, Evelyn, but was eventually apprehended in Tennessee. During his arrest, he confessed to the crime, detailing his actions and expressing regret. Despite his claims of self-defense, the forensic evidence and the severity of his actions led to a conviction. The trial began on February 16, 2022. Despite his expressions of regret and a psychologist's testimony about his impaired cognitive state, the jury found Tristan guilty of first-degree murder. On March 3, 2022, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. This tragic case serves as a stark reminder of the complexities and potential dangers hidden beneath the surface of seemingly loving families. It also highlights the importance of addressing mental health issues and the potential consequences of strict oppressive environments. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell to stay updated on new stories from around the world. See you soon, and take care. North Carolina, a state brimming with rich cultural heritage and natural beauty, is often celebrated as the birthplace of country music, the blues, and the homeland of the Cherokee Indians. This southern state, located in the northern part of the South Atlantic region, is known for its conservative values and economic prosperity. It presents a picturesque blend of historic landmarks, vibrant cities, and serene rural landscapes, making it a unique and cherished part of the United States. One of the hallmarks of North Carolina is its deep-rooted cultural traditions. The state has played a significant role in the development of American music, particularly country and blues, genres that have profoundly influenced the nation's musical landscape. Additionally, the state is home to the Cherokee Indians, who have a rich and enduring presence in the region, contributing to its diverse cultural tapestry. In terms of crime, North Carolina is generally quiet compared to some of its southern counterparts. The state's news is more often dominated by natural events rather than violent crimes. Residents and visitors are more likely to hear about the state's battles with nature, including severe weather conditions such as snowstorms, tornadoes, and thunderstorms, which can significantly impact daily life. Despite its serene beauty, North Carolina is not without its geographical challenges. The state's coastal areas are particularly vulnerable to tropical storms and flooding, especially during the hurricane season. These storms can bring devastating winds, heavy rainfall, and storm surges that pose significant threats to coastal communities. The aftermath of such storms often involves extensive damage to property, infrastructure, and sometimes loss of life. Inland, the state's diverse landscape includes dense forests and wildlife refuges, which are susceptible to wildfires. These fires can spread rapidly, fueled by dry conditions and dense vegetation, leading to widespread destruction of natural habitats and posing risks to nearby human settlements. Additionally, the state's mountainous regions are prone to landslides, particularly after heavy rains. The steep terrain and loose soil in these areas can lead to sudden and destructive landslides, which can damage roads, homes, and other structures, as well as pose a danger to human life. Overall, while North Carolina offers a rich and diverse living environment, it also requires residents to be vigilant and prepared for the natural hazards that come with its varied geography. The state's commitment to disaster preparedness and community resilience plays a crucial role in mitigating the impact of these natural events and ensuring the safety and well-being of its inhabitants. On April 10, 2019, the tranquility of Deep Gap, North Carolina, was shattered by a horrific event that would leave the community reeling. 17-year-old Tristan Borlase committed a heinous act that would forever mark the small town. On this fateful day, Tristan brutally massacred his own family, a crime that stunned the nation and drew attention to the otherwise peaceful region. The first inkling of the horror came from a frantic emergency call. A young woman, her voice trembling with fear and confusion, reported a gruesome scene. She mentioned seeing blood and that some family members were missing, creating a sense of urgency and dread. The dispatcher, trained to handle such crises, quickly sent police units to the scene, setting off a series of events that would unravel a nightmarish story. Upon arrival, the first responders were greeted by a chilling sight. A trail of blood led ominously from the walkway into the house, a stark indicator that something terrible had occurred. The officers followed the trail, each step deepening their sense of foreboding. Their fears were soon confirmed. Outside the house, under a hammock that once symbolized relaxation and peace, lay the lifeless body of a man. He had been viciously stabbed, the severity of the wounds and the brutality of the attack clear even to seasoned officers. This grisly discovery was just the beginning of the nightmare that would unfold. As the investigation progressed, more horrifying details emerged. The family's pickup truck, a familiar and benign presence, was found hidden away. Inside, the police made another grim discovery. The body of a woman lay within the truck, covered with a blanket and bags of mulch in a desperate attempt to conceal the crime. This gruesome scene painted a picture of calculated brutality, where the perpetrator had gone to great lengths to hide his monstrous acts. The unfolding of these events in Deep Gap on April 10, 2019, brought to light a case of unimaginable horror. The massacre perpetrated by Tristan Borlase against his family stands as a stark reminder of the potential for violence lurking beneath the surface of everyday life. As the investigation continued, the community, and indeed the nation, sought answers and grappled with the shock and grief left in the wake of this tragic incident. Jeffrey Borlase was born on April 16, 1975, and dedicated his life to the service of faith and community. As the pastor of the conservative Pietist Bible Fellowship Church, Jeffrey was well respected in Deep Gap, North Carolina. His sermons were known for their fervor and strict adherence to conservative Christian values, reflecting his deep commitment to his faith. Tanya Mae Trandum's path to becoming Tanya Mae Borlase began in a serendipitous encounter during a summer job. It was there that she met Jeffrey, and they quickly discovered their shared values and similar upbringings. Raised in homes that prioritized religious devotion and moral integrity, Tanya and Jeffrey found a kindred spirit in one another. Their relationship blossomed, founded on mutual respect and a shared vision for a life devoted to their faith. Jeffrey and Tanya Borlase built their family life around a framework of strict religious principles. Their home was a place where piety and moral instruction were paramount, and every aspect of their daily lives was infused with their conservative beliefs. This environment was meticulously maintained, aiming to guide their children along a path of righteousness and devotion. The Borlases' commitment to their faith extended beyond their biological children. They chose to open their home to adopted children, creating a large, diverse family unit. This decision was driven by their deep-seated belief in the Christian principle of charity and the importance of providing a loving home to those in need. Their family eventually grew to include 8 children, each with their unique stories and backgrounds. The eldest, Taylor, was followed by the twins, Kaya and Alexis, who brought a lively dynamic to the household. Misery, a name reflecting perhaps a more somber aspect of their faith, Al, and Stephen added to the mix, each contributing their personalities and experiences. Maloku, with a name that hinted at a more eclectic background, joined the family, bringing further diversity. Tristan, the youngest, was part of this large, bustling household. He was raised with the same strict discipline and religious guidance as his siblings. The Borlase home was one of structure and routine, with every child expected to adhere to the family's stringent moral code. The environment was one where deviations from the norm were not easily tolerated, and the pressure to conform to the family's high standards was ever present. Despite the rigid environment, or perhaps because of it, the Borlase family presented a united front to the outside world. Jeffrey's role as a pastor and Tanya's support ensured that the family was seen as a model of conservative Christian values. Their large family was a testament to their faith and their willingness to extend love and care to those beyond their biological offspring. However, the events of April 10, 2019, would reveal a darker undercurrent to this seemingly devout family life. The strict upbringing, intended to cultivate piety and moral fortitude, became a backdrop to a tragedy that no one in Deep Gap could have foreseen. The massacre carried out by Tristan Borlase would challenge the perceptions of the community and raise profound questions about the hidden dynamics within the Borlase household. Tristan Borlase's childhood was deeply intertwined with his family's religious beliefs and values. From an early age, He was exposed to a lifestyle governed by strict adherence to the principles laid down by his father, Jeffrey Borlase, the pastor of the conservative Pietist Bible Fellowship Church. This environment emphasized piety, moral instruction, and a rigid code of conduct that left little room for deviation. Among his siblings, Tristan was particularly close to his older sister, Taylor. Their bond was strong, and she often acted as a confidant and role model for him. However, when Taylor left for college, Tristan felt a profound sense of loss. Her departure marked the beginning of a period of emotional turbulence for him, as he struggled to adjust to life without her presence and guidance. As he entered his teenage years, Tristan began to chafe under the stringent restrictions imposed by his family's religious practices. He yearned for the freedom to experience a more typical teenage life, one that included the social activities and personal liberties enjoyed by his peers. This desire for independence and modernity often put him at odds with his parents' expectations and the conservative lifestyle they insisted upon. Tristan's internal conflicts soon manifested in his behavior. He began to exhibit signs of anger and frustration, which became increasingly difficult for him to control. In 2018, his parents sought the help of a psychologist to address his escalating anger issues. These sessions revealed a young man struggling with the pressures of his environment and his inability to reconcile his desires with his family's expectations. His academic performance began to suffer as well. Once a promising student, Tristan's grades started to decline, reflecting his growing disinterest and disengagement from school. He became more withdrawn, preferring the solitude of his room and the virtual world of the internet over interaction with his family and friends. This increased internet use was a way for him to escape the confines of his reality and explore identities and lifestyles that were otherwise forbidden to him. The friction between Tristan and his parents grew more pronounced as he entered late adolescence. Jeffrey and Tanya's unwavering commitment to their religious views often clashed with Tristan's desire for a different life. The household was frequently a battleground for ideological disputes, with Tristan challenging the tenets of the faith that his parents held so dear. These quarrels were not just about religious doctrine, but also about lifestyle choices, personal freedom, and the right to self-expression. Adding to the tension was Tristan's developing relationship with Evelyn Faith Jackson. Evelyn represented everything that was outside the conservative bubble of the Borlase household. She was a symbol of the freedom and rebellion that Tristan craved. Their relationship was a form of defiance against his parents' strictures, and it drew him further into behaviors and activities that were at odds with his upbringing. Tristan and Evelyn's involvement in illegal activities marked a significant departure from the path laid out for him by his family. This involvement not only deepened the rift between him and his parents, but also isolated him further from the values he had been raised with. His relationship with Evelyn became a focal point of his rebellion, intensifying the conflicts at home and setting the stage for the tragic events that would later unfold. In summary, Tristan Borlase's upbringing was marked by a struggle between the rigid expectations of his conservative family and his own desires for a different life. The close relationship with his sister Taylor, his anger issues, declining academic performance, and conflicts with his parents over religious and lifestyle. Choices all contributed to a complex and troubled adolescence. These factors combined to create a volatile situation that would ultimately lead to a devastating outcome, shocking the quiet community of Deep Gap and challenging their perceptions of the Borlase family. The tragic events of April 10, 2019, began with an unexpected and deeply unsettling discovery. Tristan's mother, Tanya Mae Trandum, stumbled upon explicit and incriminating content on Tristan's old phone. This discovery included disturbing images and messages that were starkly at odds with the strict moral code of the Borlase household. Shocked and horrified, Tanya confronted Tristan about what she had found. The confrontation quickly escalated into a heated argument. The pent-up frustrations and unresolved conflicts between Tristan and his mother came to a head, resulting in a violent altercation. According to Tristan's later statement, the situation spiraled out of control. In a fit of rage and desperation, Tristan claimed he acted in self-defense, stabbing his mother during the confrontation. The initial act of violence set off a horrific chain reaction. When his father, Jeffrey Borlase, intervened upon hearing the commotion, Tristan's fear and anger overcame him once more. In the ensuing chaos, Tristan stabbed his father as well. After the fatal stabbings, Tristan attempted to clean up the scene. He dragged his father's body outside and concealed it under a hammock. His mother's body was hidden in the family's pickup truck, covered with a blanket and bags of mulch. The house, once a place of strict discipline and religious observance, had now become a gruesome crime scene. In the immediate aftermath of the murders, Tristan's actions were erratic and desperate. He left the house with the intent of picking up his younger brother from their grandmother's home. This move was perhaps an attempt to maintain some semblance of normalcy, or to protect his brother from discovering the gruesome scene. However, the discovery of the crime scene was inevitable. When Tristan did not arrive as expected, his grandmother and other family members went to check on the Borlase household. What they found was a nightmarish tableau of blood and violence, leading them to call the authorities. Realizing the enormity of his actions and the inevitability of his capture, Tristan fled with his girlfriend, Evelyn Faith Jackson. The couple's flight from Deep Gap led to a dramatic police chase that ended in their arrest. During the interrogation that followed, Tristan confessed to the murders, providing details that corroborated the evidence found at the scene. Despite his initial claims of self-defense, his narrative revealed a young man overwhelmed by anger and despair, who had lashed out with devastating consequences. At his trial, Tristan expressed regret for his actions. His confession and the remorse he exhibited were poignant, but they did little to mitigate the horror of his crimes. The courtroom was filled with the echoes of a life marked by conflict and tragedy, culminating in an act of unimaginable violence. The once quiet and conservative community of Deep Gap was left to grapple with the shocking reality of the Borlase family tragedy. A stark reminder of the complex and often hidden struggles that can lead to such a catastrophic breaking point. The court proceedings for Tristan Borlase's case were both emotionally charged and meticulously scrutinized. The defense presented a psychological argument, emphasizing Tristan's mental health issues, his troubled upbringing, and the intense pressures he faced within his family. They called upon psychologists to testify about Tristan's anger issues, his consultations in 2018, and his declining academic performance, all signs of a young man struggling with deep-seated issues. However, the jury remained unconvinced by the psychological defense. The prosecution painted a picture of a calculated and brutal double murder, highlighting the deliberate actions Tristan took after the initial stabbings, attempting to clean up the crime scene and hiding the bodies. The jury was swayed by the evidence of premeditation and the sheer brutality of the crimes. After weeks of testimony and deliberation, Tristan Borlase was found guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole, citing the heinous nature of the crimes and the lasting impact on the surviving family members and the community. The sentencing brought a semblance of closure to the surviving members of the Borlase family, but it also deepened their sorrow and pain. The family, already fractured by the horrific events, made the difficult decision to cut off all contact with Tristan. His lack of visible remorse and the overwhelming grief they felt made reconciliation impossible. The Borlase family, once bound by strict religious values and close-knit relationships, was now irrevocably shattered. The tragic case of Tristan Borlase raises many reflective questions. What drove a 17-year-old to commit such a heinous act against his own family? How much did his strict religious upbringing contribute to the pressure and rebellion he felt? Was there a lack of adequate mental health support that could have prevented this tragedy? Exploring these complex motives and the psychological state of Tristan Borlase reveals the intricate interplay between environment, upbringing, and mental health. It underscores the importance of providing robust mental health support and creating an environment where individuals, especially teenagers, can express their struggles without fear of retribution. The Borlase case is a stark reminder of the potential consequences of untreated mental health issues and the pressures of a restrictive upbringing. It calls for a more compassionate and proactive approach to mental health care and family dynamics, ensuring that tragedies like this can be prevented in the future.